Yes guys, how's it going? Welcome back to a new video, and just a quick one from me this evening as Newcastle continue to try and make something happen this transfer window. The timer is ticking down as we approach the end of the transfer window, and more links between Newcastle and the Watford striker João Pedro continue to come out. The most recent link today through Fabrizio Romano and a couple of other outlets is that Newcastle are now preparing a further bid of around 20 million and 3 additional million in add-ons. It's understood Newcastle originally put in a bid of around, well, it was said to be 17 to 20 million, so Newcastle are adding that little bit more on to try and get that one through the door. The trouble with this one is, and it's the trouble we've had all window. The Ramos one, that seemingly has gone a little bit quiet. I'd love to hear Newcastle come back and offer that additional money. It's understood that the original bid for Ramos, or what we were looking to try and pay for him, was around 30 million. Benfica want 35. I would potentially like to see us go back in there and pay the money for him, but not too much has been said on that one, so we're still waiting to hopefully hear a little bit more. But with regard to the João Pedro one, similar. Watford are understood to be wanting closer to 35 million for the youngster. And if that's true, a bid of 20 million plus 3 in add-ons is probably not going to make it happen, is it? And if you think that Ramos is worth 35, I would rather see us go and pay that for him than pay the 35 for João Pedro. The only thing that I think is on our side with regard to João Pedro is that it's understood that he himself is unhappy with the stance taken by Watford this transfer window. There's conflicting reports. There's reports that Watford have said no and he's not for sale. There's also reports that have said no, it's not enough, but we're willing to listen to a couple of more offers. And I mean, if they're asking for 35 million, I'm not surprised. They could potentially let him go. But one thing that is helping us here is that, as I say, João Pedro is understood to be unhappy with the stance taken by Watford, and it sounds like he would like the move. Of course, he would like the move. He'd come and play back in the Premier League again. So we'll have to wait and hear on that one. 20-year-old Brazilian player, generally plays down the centre striker for Watford, but is versatile, can play out on the wing. The response to this particular player being linked with Newcastle hasn't been overwhelmingly great, to be honest. Let me know your thoughts on João Pedro down below. I do think if we end up going in and paying that extra, that we could potentially look back at the Ramos one again, but we just don't know the background. What we do know is, as I say, getting reported by a number of sources, that Newcastle have not given up on the 20-year-old Brazilian and are looking to place a further bid. Eddie Howe will always play football the way he believes it should be played, which is high press, high intensity, and we know that he has a list of players that he thinks will suit his style of play. Now, João Pedro has some great underlying stats. He's great at pressing. He's got some great link-up play. He's got a really high defensive work rate. He's running off the ball. Those are all things that Eddie Howe will be interested in. I think the reason some Newcastle fans aren't, as I say, overwhelmingly positive about this one is that he doesn't have great goals and assists rates. But let's not forget that he's been playing in a Watford side who got relegated and generally haven't been a good side. You know, he was only 19 last year playing in a Watford side who got relegated. You know, it's going to be tough to score goals in that kind of team, and Newcastle are working to improve our attacking stats. We're working to improve that creativeness on the pitch. And we're working to increase our possession as well. So you've got to think that he would do better in a Newcastle side. And as I've mentioned, I think what's really attracting Eddie Howe to this player are those high work rate, high defensive work rate, the link-up play. That's all the kind of thing that Eddie Howe will be interested in. And we know that Callum Wilson does everything. You know, he runs hard, he presses high, and that's kind of what we're looking to find in another striker. As I've mentioned, all of the strikers we've been linked with are pretty much a very similar player. They're all young versions of Callum Wilson. You know, Ramos, Dieng, back when we were linked with Sesko, back when we were linked with Ekitike, all that time ago. You know, these are all the same kind of player. And I understand that João Pedro doesn't have the greatest goals and assist rates, which I think is why some Newcastle fans are getting turned off. But I think a lot of the underlying stuff looks very good. So we'll have to wait and see. I think the big problem here is that Watford have already let Dennis go. It's understood that João Pedro will, you know, pretty much be playing as that focal striker for Watford this season. Are they going to let him go? You know, they've just let Dennis go. They're going to now let another striker go. And if they are going to let him go, they're going to want to make sure they get plenty of money for him. And they also want to give themselves time to spend some of that money to get another striker in, which we're not allowing them much time for as this window turns down. And that's just generally a problem we're going to have across the board. Any player we're buying, the team we're buying them from are either going to need to already have a striker in the squad they're happy to use, or we probably end up paying too much so that they can go and buy themselves an alternative as well. Obviously, the Ramos one is very interesting, and it has, you know, gone a little bit quiet there, so we'll have to see if any more comes out on that one. Benfica have just sold, you know, Nunes, so they do have 100 million there. I think someone commented that in one of my recent videos. So they do have the money to go out and spend and replace Ramos should we buy him, but we're not giving them very long to do it. You know, they've just sold the number one striker. Now they're going to let the young up and coming player go as well. You know, it's going to be tough. There is still links out with all of those Chelsea players that were won on loan. News coming out today that Manchester United are interested in Pulisic as well. And I think that's something we're going to find with all of these Chelsea players who are supposedly going to go out on loan. But still, that is also reliant on Chelsea buying Gordon, the link with Aubameyang as well. We are still waiting for Chelsea to make moves before they'll allow a lot of these players to be available. And when they do become available, I've no doubt that the majority of teams in the Premier League are going to be interested. So we'll have to see what happens there. But the big news is that Newcastle are preparing a further bid for João Pedro. Let me know your thoughts on that down below. The stuff that's in our favour is that the player seemingly wants to go, and could he force the move? What's not in our favour is that they've already let Dennis go. They're wanting way more money, and it's looking like another one of them where we're probably going to back down. If we put in another bid and they go, we want 35 million, how long is it going to be before we finally say, right, let's just go and do it? And don't get me wrong, I still am confident that we'll bring in at least one attacking player before the end of this window. It's going to happen. It will happen. So people who are getting, you know, a little bit agitated and a little bit frustrated, I understand it, because we're fans and we want to make sure we get stuff sorted before the end of the window. We're just going to have to wait and hear what happens next. So let me know your thoughts on João Pedro down below. Let me know your thoughts on Ramos. Should that be one we are going back in for and potentially just paying the fee? Let me know your thoughts on some of the Chelsea guys and who you would like to potentially see from them coming in on loan. Alright guys, thanks for watching as always. Drop a like, subscribe if you haven't already, if you're still watching daily Newcastle content, and I'm hoping that we will have some transfer videos to come out very soon. Alright guys, thanks for watching, and I'll catch you later.